When you want a different look to your models, you might want to try modeling with splines. Splines are like the Adobe Illustrator of modeling, where you create vector paths and you're able to then extrude them, loft them, sweep them, and do all kinds of cool stuff. For example, this is a quick little banner, maybe for like a convention that might have a logo for a company on there. And it's simply a regular old cylinder for the poles, and then the spline is where we get this long sheet here. That could be the poster. And if I look at this other example, you could create something like a water slide or maybe a really fancy tent. All right, so let's go ahead and get started and explore creating splines. So I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new document so we could think about the ways you can use these things. Now, splines can be created in many ways, from a preset profile, and once again, a spline is also called a profile, or drawing it yourself in a freehand mode where the sky's the limit, and however shaky or smooth your hand is exactly the type of line you're going to get. More control, like an Illustrator with a Bezier, which will give you these handles, which you can then use to refine the curves you draw, and the other methods as well. So let's go ahead and just explore. So as you saw in the earlier example, I had over here something like maybe a paper towel roll. It could also be maybe a roll of wrapping paper. So let's go ahead and create that real fast. So I'm going to go back to my new document. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create this, I think, in the right view. So let's go ahead and make believe we're creating maybe a wrapping paper roll or maybe a carpet that's unfurling. So we're going to start with freehand, and I'm going to literally just draw like this to create the carpet like that. Just a freehand spline. And I'm not going to modify it or anything. So I'm going to right click again, right click in my perspective view. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to take a operator here, like this extrusion, and we're going to just throw it into our objects manager. We're going to drag the spline right on in there until the arrow's pointing down. And then at this point, all we have to do is click on the word extrude and choose which direction we'd like it to extrude from. For example, I don't want it to go the way it's going right now. It's kind of flattening itself. I'd like it to go either this direction or that direction. So we know that the movement in this axis is wrong. I'll go ahead and put a 0 there and hit tab. And I'm going to instead come over here to one of these guys. And look at that. I'll just go ahead and increase the movement or decrease it, negative or positive, until I have something that fits the description of what I'm trying to create. So I have a nice roll of paper towel or carpet. I'm going to go ahead and delete this now. Now, there's all kinds of really fun things that we can create with these operators. So we can go ahead, for example, and we could work with a rectangle. And with this rectangle, let me go ahead and zoom in here. We're able to do all kinds of things, like, let's say I want to create some type of logo, maybe that it's made from a square, and I can go ahead and scale this spline. I'll go ahead and control drag and put it to the front like so. And I have these 3 pieces. I can go ahead and loft them together. I'll go ahead and hold down shift, drag these guys all in. And now you see I have this very interesting shape here. It could be a picture frame or a mirror. See that? So just taking 3 shapes and scaling them, you could create all kinds of very interesting shapes. So these seemingly simple shapes here can create all manner of objects. Now, elsewhere in the course, I talk about text, and text too is a spline object that we then, give some depth and caps to create the shapes we need. So in the next lesson, let's go ahead and think a little bit more complicated, like the other object I showed you, where we had several different splines, and they kind of flow straight down to create a really interesting shape like this. All right, so I will see you in the next lesson.